On this week's episode, we're going to discuss how Arch is getting a big resource boost from Valve. Woohoo! And what it means for Linux. Welcome to Destination Linux, where we discuss the latest news, hot topics, gaming, mobile, and all things open source in Linux. My name is Jill.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Michael.
Also this week, we're really, seriously, going to have a story time with Michael. Woohoo!
We will see.
Plus, we got some Linux gaming and our software spotlight and more. Now, let's get the show on the road toward Destination Linux.
Our feedback this week comes from Oscar. They have this to say: in listening to episode 388, my Google speaker answers the question correctly. And my iPhone, which was playing episode 388, sent me a correct link to the question. Both are older versions of said devices. So either Oscar's calling us a liar, Michael, and saying that we didn't, or he's saying the older version's better. I'm thinking he's saying the older version.
I don't think he's saying liar. I think he's more of saying, well, hey, I tested it. Maybe they fixed it or something like that. But it could be other. I'm teasing it's Oscar. More likely other things than that.
I know what you meant, Oscar. I'm totally joking. First of all, Oscar, we love you because you actually put the episode number in there, and that helps us
very
so
helpful.
much.
We were discussing where we were talking to it before the show. Where did we do this? We couldn't remember, and then Jill said, "Well, he put it in the notes." Oh, right.
Yeah, thank you,
Oscar helped us do the research we needed for the show. So we've been told that Microsoft engineers listen to this show. Actually, at Microsoft as part of their workday. Apparently,
we've been told by Microsoft engineers. Yeah,
and I'm quite certain Google folks, employees, listen to this show as well. But we've never had that confirmed. If you would like to send us one, and you don't have to give your name, just be like, "Yeah, I'm a Google employee and I listen." That would be cool. See, on Saturday, September 21st, I did the same test again, and we did the test live on the show, and it failed miserably, and so. We didn't edit that or anything. It was live.
Yeah, we just left it. Yep.
Spontaneously did it. And so I did the test several times after I got Oscar's email. And funny enough, all of a sudden it was working with that specific word, which was cognizant. And so, it's
proof that they watch our show.
That's it. Or that's what I think it means too. And, it knew the answer. It read it out from Wikipedia. So I think that Google listens to us. Which in that case, the next thing we would like you to do, Google, is remove all of your privacy sucking
violating issues.
Yeah. If you could do that, then we'll love you very much. But
you wouldn't
Michael,
be Google at that point, I guess, though. But
something else happened, Michael, that before we were doing the show.
I think what we should do here is first, I think this is super interesting because it does give us a sign that they did it, or maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it just randomly works sometimes. So we need to test it live again and see if they have actually fixed it.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Google, what is cognizant?
KO is an abbreviation for knockout. It's commonly used in sports like boxing and martial arts to refer to a situation where a competitor...
So maybe try again, but this time just pronounce everything, over-articulate it.
Hey, Google, what is cognizant?
Cognizant Technology Solutions Corporation is an American multinational information technology.
At least it got the word this time.
Yeah.
New Jersey, U.S.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it was a fluke.
I mean, I have no other sound going on in this room. Like, it is completely silent for a podcast. So, like, it has the perfect ability to hear my words and be able to properly. So, listen, Google engineers, you fixed it for like a day, but this is clearly a regression bug, and it's come back. So, get back in there and get working.
Yeah,
you just got to get cognizant to work. That's that's our test. If it's artificial intelligence, if it's reached the pinnacle of, what do they call it when it becomes human, Michael? Like where it's like
sentience.
Yeah,
sentience. Yeah, that's when we'll know AI is sentient, when it can tell us the proper definition for
just
cognizant
of one word.
Yeah, that's it. That's the new Turing test right there.
Oh my goodness.
Very interesting. AI, I think, clearly has been overblown in its capabilities in some areas, and in other areas, it's great. But these assistants are unbelievably annoying, and people don't use them because they rarely ever work. And
AI is cool, but these have always been a massive annoyance. Like when you basically want to just set up a alarm, that even in itself is a pain sometimes, and you're like, oh, well, you have to unlock your phone first. Why? Why do I have to unlock my phone to set up an alarm?
Yeah. I think I asked it to do that recently, to set an alarm or something, and it gave me something like that. Well, you don't have this setting set to allow me to set an alarm for you. And then so I'd had to go into settings and find that setting, and then whatever it was, and do that to use it. And it was just easier to just manually go in and make the calendar reminder, which was far shorter. And so, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. And I've not seen the proof of this, but I've heard the new AI in the iPhone 16 hasn't been doing so great either. Like, it's not doing so
Not
well.
surprising. Now, I haven't updated I don't know what OS, if I can even get that. I do have an iPhone, but I don't know am I going to get the update or anything. But the funny thing is there are sometimes you just can't do certain things with your phone locked. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I just want to open the podcast app and it won't let me without giving extra permissions. Like, just open the app. But if you unlock the phone and then say open it, then it will do it. It's just so weird.
At that point, it's quicker for me to click the button.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So these voice assistants are a cool idea, but they are far from helpful. Like, they are good for tiny little things, setting reminders maybe.
What's the weather?
What time is it if you're doing something, or like riding a bike, you don't want to look at, like pull your phone out or something like that. Like, there are times where they have some value. It is just a very small amount of time that it has value.
Yeah.
Jill, do you use the AI assistants at all?
No, not at all. Because of mistakes. And it just,
it gets more frustrating. So
it's more frustrating. I'd rather type it in. So
if you use Samsung, which if you do, read their privacy policy and then throw it away. But if you use that, then let us know if Bixby is any better. If you actually
There's no way Bixby's better.
If you actually use, they may, because they gather all your information and sell it. So maybe it's
that's true, but also Samsung is known for doing really weird stuff anyway. So like, I don't think they're going to be solving the voice assistant problem anytime soon.
It really stinks too, because Samsung has some of the nicest looking hardware out there, period. Like, I really want to get my hands on an S24 Ultra or play with one of their flip phones, because I really like the flip phones. But because their privacy policy is so bad, literally the worst I've ever read, I just won't touch their phones. And it stinks, because I look at them, I'm like, man, I'd really like to play with you, Samsung, but you don't want to be nice to me in the privacy world.
You don't,
by the way,
you don't want even be nice. You don't want to have the just reasonable options to the user. Like, it's so absurd. Like, the funny thing is, I used to have a Samsung before I switched to the iPhone, and we were the time I learned how bad their privacy was on this show when Ryan was telling everyone. I was like, oh wait, huh? And then you could go, you could probably go back and look at the episode. I don't remember which one it was, but it was hilarious, because he's like, wait a minute, I have one of those. Let me go look. Oh, okay, I need to get rid of this.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was on Reddit, and there's a our privacy on there, where a lot of people talk about the different privacy things. And the question came up about Samsung versus the Google Pixel and some other stuff, because the person wanted to do Android. And it was so relief. It was relief filling to me to see that so many people were like, hey, Samsung's privacy policy is terrible. Stay away from it. So I'm like, hey, the message has finally got out. Maybe it'll get to Samsung and they'll fix it. Maybe. Probably not.
Maybe. Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who are curious what to get, the Pixel is not a bad one. I had to get an Android and as well. And the Pixel is a good solution for that. Which one I don't.
Google gives you the control to turn all that stuff on. Now, it's all on by default, which is nonsense, Google.
That's true.
It's nonsense. But you do have control if you go through all 50 variations of their various apps and turn all that stuff
better
off.
Than nothing.
Yeah.
Better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to let us know if there's a better phone AI assistant, if you use the AI assistant all the time and it works beautifully for you, please send us what you use and how you use it, because I would be curious, because I don't see any value in them. To destinationlinux.net/comments, or you can go on the forum, destinationlinux.net/forum, and you can be part of the show and let us know, hey, man, you got to check out Bixby. It's jam. Is that what kids
Be
say?
part of the show.
Jam.
Let us know.
Yeah. It's not Ohio dog water. Bixby's not. Or
Almost
Siri.
guaranteed.
It's Riz.
That's it, Jill. Good one. It's Riz.
Y'all are so bussin'.
Thank you. You know what's really cool though, Michael, is Valve. You know, you look at
That's true.
corporations.
Yes.
Valve is really bussin'.
Yeah, they are bussing.
Hey,
And
if
I
they
look
made
at
AI, it would be awesome.
oh my goodness, it would be so good. Just launch game. That's it.
That reminds me of but speaking of game-based AI, voice assistants, then we have Cortana, and we completely forgot about Cortana. Maybe Cortana is the
Jill,
greatest.
why are you laughing?
Sorry. I'd
Now-
rather have Clippy, even
Whoa.
not completely functional, but
It's true. Clippy
Shots
was probably
fired.
more useful.
yeah.
Man, Microsoft, if you're not feeling that burn, I don't know. You must not be human. I love Cortana, the name, because I love Halo, and I love Cortana in Halo. And if Cortana actually acted on my phone or computer or whatever, like it does in the show, that helps Master Chief, defeat the evil aliens, then that would be great. But it doesn't. Anyways, Valve rocks. We all love Valve. And it's one of those corporations, it's hard to admire corporations these days because they always kind of start off with, hey, we're your friend, love us, look, we're doing stuff differently. And then as soon as they make a lot of money, they're like, I got you. And then they become
psych.
That's the whole thing. Like it happens with every company I start to admire, and then they kind of turn evil. But Valve's never done that. Not that I know of. Anyway.
No. They actually do a lot of cool stuff. I recently learned when I was researching them, I found out they were doing a lot of cool stuff in the sense that if you're a developer, a game developer, they do the 30% thing, but that's only if someone purchases it on the Steam store. If you are given a key, which they give keys out to developers to be able to give to testers or press people or whatever, those they don't make any money on. They actually lose money. There's no value from Steam. They don't charge for that. Valve is they do a lot of cool stuff that don't get a lot of attention. So I'm happy that we're giving them attention for something else they're doing. That's awesome.
Well, when we started, this podcast, we used to get emails weekly talking about, hey, you guys make Linux sound really exciting. I would love to use Linux, but gaming's a big deal for me and I can't game on Linux. So we would have to deal with this on a constant basis. Or people will say, I'll switch as soon as I can play games on Linux. Yep. And then there were people who were like, hey, I don't care about gaming. Linux is cool and everything else. We don't even want to hear your gaming section anymore.
Yeah.
And then we
had people yelling at us about having gaming section on our show.
Which I get. Like some people don't game, and that's probably not your favorite segment if you don't. But then we started telling
chapters
people,
are for people.
Listen, if you look at gaming is bigger than film, all of television, and all of music combined. So it's a really big deal when you have a operating system that can't game. So maybe you don't game. That's okay. That's totally cool. But the vast majority of people do to some extent. And it's clear based on that statistic that you can go look up right now. Don't ask Google AI. I won't know. But you can look that up right now and you'll see that that's a fact. It's bigger than all of those, not individually, but all of those combined. Gaming is bigger than. So we know gaming's a big deal, and Steam, Wine, Proton, all combined made it so that we no longer really get any of those emails. I can't remember the last time we received an email saying, hey, I would love to switch to Linux, but I can't because of gaming. And I think that that's incredible. And of course, there are companies that partnered with Steam, and a lot of the work like that the Wine team did and things that allowed Steam to make it happen. But, the end result is we ended up not only with being able to game better on Linux, but we ended up with the Steam Deck, which
Which
Jill's
we were early
ready to
adopters.
go with the Steam Deck.
She was ready for that the whole time. She had that thing on her hip. It was like hip fired Steam Deck. She just ripped it.
I don't
Like
know.
old
Like, wait,
Western.
where did that come from? That was quick.
Man, that was good, Jill. It's almost like we planned it. Yeah,
We
so
didn't. That's what's even more impressive.
the Steam Deck's been an incredible story in itself because number one, they took a huge risk by not going with the traditional Windows. And in fact, every company that's tried to copy them, ROG, all of them, and failed with their own portable devices, all chose Windows because they're like, aha,
doing Windows.
We've got the secret here. We're going to do Windows, which means we'll have a couple more games that are compatible that we can run that they can't, and no one's going to want to play with the Steam Deck. And we're going to make it better hardware.
Of using Windows, and you're like, why do you think they didn't use Windows? Like, there's a reason.
Experience.
It's like we're gonna do one above you, and like, but it's a terrible experience because Windows is not made for that and doesn't work very well. But it's got other games that you can't play. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. And they make it look so good. Like the Steam Deck interface is gorgeous.
Very nice.
It's
Michael,
wonderful.
I have really, man, I got to tell you, like, I have really come to appreciate the UX designers out there. And I know that a lot of companies have gone out and like, we'll combine all the roles into one. You can be the back-end coder, you can be the UX designer. And I think that's why so much software nowadays is so bad, because they've combined those roles. They didn't really respect the power of a good UX design. And I'm going to use Power BI as an example of this. If you've ever used Microsoft Power BI, this is a really powerful tool. If you run into the limitations with Excel, I think it's like at 900,000 records or something is the max Excel can store. I don't remember what the number is, but something like that.
That's so little.
And then, well, when you're dealing with massive company, right, it becomes a big deal.
Yeah.
And then, Power BI becomes this tool that allows you to be able to create reports and create charts and all of this stuff and big dashboards and be able to manage this data. The UX is absolutely horrendous. And as usual, it's big, fat, and bloated and is very slow. But I didn't realize how bad it was till a peer of mine showed me Tableau. And Tableau is a big competitor of Microsoft. And all the stuff that I have to do 18 clicks to do in Power BI is just like one little button over there in Tableau.
Yeah.
And the UX is so good, Michael, that I had no training on it, knew nothing about Tableau, opened it up and was able to immediately start building my report without any instruction. Like it just made sense.
That's
icons
good
made sense. Where stuff was where it should be, and it was just there.
So this is actually for those who don't know, I am a designer and more specifically a UX designer. Technically, I also do graphic design, but my preference is UX. And this is a very important thing because there is actually like laws of design that exist that kind of guide you in terms of like, it's not to be like, oh, we're following the trends. It's just that there's certain things you need to do that you need to be able to design something that is an intuitive someone, like how Ryan was able to just pick it up and go. He understood how it was working. That doesn't mean that the software is good. It means that the software is designed well enough that you don't have to worry about, you need to teach them how to use it. If you have to teach someone how to use it, then there's a problem. Now, if you are doing something that you're trying to be innovative and you don't really care if it's intuitive, that's one thing. But there's actually a law called Jacob's Law that is provide the initial experience to be what the user is expecting. And it seems like Tableau did exactly that.
Yeah. And it's so welcoming. And I use that example because specifically Power BI launched a new feature, dark mode, finally, right? So of course I turn on dark mode.
Wow.
And they advertise it. It pops up. It's like, you want to try it now? I'm like, yeah, dark mode. Finally. It won't blind me when I open a report. So I click on open. It opens. It's in dark mode. And everything looks to be fine until I get into the sub menu where I need to select multiple things. And I can't see if I'm selecting anything because the dark mode
text is not optimized for the dark mode. So it's a black text on a dark mode background. Yeah.
So herein lies the problem now. Now I'm in dark mode, but I've got to get this report out, and I've got to get out of dark mode so that I can do the selection I need to build the report I have.
And you don't know where it is because it's not going to ask you where to put it because there's all these tons of menus that you can't read.
And there's this huge list of different various settings. Nothing just says appearance or what you would expect it to say. But I think it's somewhere under global settings, and at the very bottom, there's this little thing.
Sounds
and I had
more like Power BS.
Yeah. Oh, nice one, Michael. Nice one. I had to search on Google to try to find how to turn it off, which of course comes with, instead of the instructions that I need, says, here's how you turn off dark mode on Android Power BI. Here's how you turn off an iPhone. But because it was a new feature, there was no instructions. Anyways, my point to all this is Steam Deck, the UX.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Is amazing, isn't it? Like
Yes.
you instantly know how to get to your games. You instantly know how to get into your settings. It's very well done.
And it's also beautifully designed. It's not like, if you go back to 2019-ish and you look at the big picture mode, it was nice, but also it was clunky and a little bit cumbersome. But it was like focusing on the graphic side, not the UX side. This is effectively taking the value and the concept of the big picture mode and making an entire ecosystem, an entire interface that is where you don't need to, because I remember, going into big picture mode, you want to try it? Sure. This is awful. And went back to the Steam client. This, like the whole, you enjoy it the whole time. The Steam Deck UI is just well done. It looks good and it's intuitive and it functions how you want it to. And even the on-screen keyboard stuff is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Now, if you compare this to like the ROG devices and other things, what you get is you boot it up and you get a Windows desktop. And then you have to use your little thumbstick to move your little mouse down to the start button
That is
to go find your game, to go launch the game.
I mean, they got to at least have a touch screen, right?
I think some of them have like a UX kind of interface, but every time I go into Best Buy and they have one on display, it's sitting on a Windows desktop, and that's how people are interfacing with this device.
That's gross.
So whether it has a UX that it boots into first or not, that's the experience everybody's getting when they walk into Best Buy. I don't have one, so I don't know. If you have one, let me know. But either way, my point is Valve did something amazing here, but they're not done. So how could Valve possibly get cooler? Well, they could come on the show. We could have Gabe Newell here, and then they would be like,
come on, Gabe.
Cool. Come on, Gabe.
You want to be on the show. You haven't done press in years, but of all the press to do, this show.
By the way,
Lord Gaben.
Lord Gabe, look at our interviews with some of the best in the industry.
Yes.
Like we will.
We're not biased. We've been told this by the people who do the interviews with us. They love our interviews the most. So think about it.
So Valve is very cool because they also used Arch to make the Steam Deck, which I remember a bunch of naysayers like, it won't be stable, blah, 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 blah. But they found their way around that, and they made it super.
I mean, if they went straight Arch, then it would have been a problem. But they didn't do that. And of course, they wouldn't do that. They shouldn't do that. So it's great that they figured out their own solution and just use Arch as the base. Arch is a good base. Is it the best base? Maybe. Now that's Fedora, because Fedora is awesome. But like, Arch, it's a good base.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. Arch is the best. Yeah. And so
I feel like we're mixing signals here.
And so, how could Valve be cooler? They're using Arch. They made the Steam Deck. They made gaming even better on Linux. Well, how about if they contribute back to Arch? Like, instead of just using it and making it super cool for their device, what if they were able to give back with all of their awesome programmers, UX designers, and everything else and help out Arch a little bit? That would be pretty cool. That would put them in like top tier cool, wouldn't you think? Top tier?
I think they do already. Before.
They're already top tier.
I think they already do contribute to some degree. I think they do send stuff here and there. I don't know to what degree, but I know that I think there is some. They do.
Well, they're going to do more.
Stuff, so
they're going to do more.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this.
Paul Yak from Arch had this to say: "We're excited to announce that Arch Linux is entering into a direct collaboration with Valve. Valve is generously providing backing for 2 critical projects that will have a huge impact on our distribution. They're going to do a build service infrastructure and a secure signing enclave. By supporting work on freelance basis for these topics, Valve enables us to work on them without being limited solely by the free time of our volunteers. So this allows them to address some of the biggest outstanding challenges that they've been facing for a while. And the calibration will speed up and progress what otherwise would have taken them a lot longer. Whatever.
Calibration
Michael.
is good too.
Yeah. Whatever, Michael. The point is, they rock, right?
They do.
They
Valve
sure do.
is awesome. And what they're doing is just, it's so cool that it's not even just like that they are doing some kind of funding. They're specifically like contracting people that are Arch staff members, like Arch developers and Arch maintainers, to be able to work on specific features that will benefit all of Arch, all of the ecosystem that uses Arch, as well as themselves. Now, obviously, Valve is not dumb and doing this for no reason. Like this is going to help them because the Steam Deck and SteamOS is based on Arch, so of course it's benefiting them. So anybody who thinks like, or like, oh, what's Valve getting out of this? Improvements to their base. So like obviously
they could have done this on their own and not included Arch. They could have gone and made the improvements, uploaded it themselves, and never gave it to Arch. They could have. But
also the thing is that what they're doing is basically making Arch, the Arch Linux project, more like stable. And I don't mean stable as in stability. I mean more like stable as like an organization, because providing infrastructure or providing the funding so that the Arch team themselves can build the infrastructure that they wanted to, because they don't have the time, because all of the people who work on Arch have always been volunteers doing it in their free time, and they don't have time to build infrastructures and all these different like automated build systems and all these things. And basically Valve is hiring these people as contractors to give them the time to do all these things, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and paying them. Yay, to make it better, and
but paying them to do the things they've already wanted to do for a while.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
awesome.
Well, when creating the Steam Deck, Valve actually worked, as we've been talking about, on Proton. They collaborated with AMD on hardware and worked with the KDE Plasma team to make Linux gaming a first-class citizen. So this even takes that further. They keep, they keep fixing all those things that are required for the Steam OS to run better and the Steam client to run better. So
they're awesome. This is interesting because just last week we were discussing Zorin OS and how awesome their new release is. We also mentioned the importance of them giving back to Ubuntu. We were talking about, hey, if they don't give back to Ubuntu, they need to, because it's a project that they rely on. And, to me, Valve is showing exactly how that's done. They're contributing back on top of the fact that they've already contributed so much, but they're continuing to contribute back. And it becomes this symbiotic relationship, just like Venom. Venom becomes symbiotic with its host. And the Marvel thing, the comic character, Michael, you're on board
Venom
with me?
In the beginning, Venom was not necessarily a good thing to have. He eventually became good when he was attached to a particular character, not Spider-Man. When he was attached to Spider-Man, he kind of was a bad guy. But when he was attached to Flash, then it was not the Flash. His nickname is Flash. And Flash Thompson, for those who are curious how nerdy I am.
Such a nerd. Oh my God.
When he was attached to Flash Thompson, he became Agent Venom, and then he was a good guy. And so it just depends on which Venom you're talking.
Such a nerd. I love
Eddie Brock was actually a bad version of Venom too. So,
but
anyway.
Michael, we had the awesome folks apparently from Zorin reach out to us to clarify some stuff.
That is true.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because I knew that I just assumed they were giving stuff back, but I didn't know what they were giving back until they gave us. He's like, I don't have a list of stuff, but here's off the top of my head. He said they created the original code bases for Dash to Panel, which is a pretty big deal because a lot of people use that, and a lot of distros come with that by default. Also, they created the original code base of the Arc menu shell extension. Which is another thing that distros come with out of the box. And they also did a number of features for the XFCE desktop, as well, like the dock style panel plugin. And they've also been contributing directly with Ubuntu to fix an issue with NVIDIA drivers for the 550 drivers that prevents like a GTK4 issue with Wayland. And they've already worked with Ubuntu to get that pushed out to users. So there you go.
Man. So we got Valve up here. We're putting that company up in top tier coolness. And Zoran, we're moving you right up there. Your neighbors with Valve right there. You're top.
Awesome.
You're symbiotic. I love it. I'm very happy to hear that. Like, I wanted to, like, Zoran, if they don't already have this on their webpage, need to put a page of this is what we contribute back to Ubuntu. I feel like
I think
important.
that this is a good point, because I feel like all distros should prove this, not because it's like, oh, we don't trust that you're helping or whatever. It's because it allows people to know exactly how you're helping. And it also, it's a marketing thing in some cases, in the sense of like, it's letting people know this and they can share it and say like, hey, these are people who are giving back and all that sort of stuff. But also it's a sense of just showing how involved you are in the community and in the ecosystem. And there's not going to be a bad thing by doing this. So I feel like all projects should
say we do this cool stuff back and we collaborate with these cool people and we all get on. I think it warms my heart to know that they're all working together on stuff together. Yeah. Like, that's a great thing. It's so open source. That's what we're here for.
It's like the philosophy and the idea and the essence of open source as it was meant to be. So do it.
Brag about it. We got you back. We'll talk about it.
If you got it, flaunt it.
That's
as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. No, I'm really thrilled with what Valve's done. I'm so happy of the success of the Steam Deck, because it could have flopped.
Yeah.
It could have been a dead product. They had
the Steam machines did not do very well, so who knows? But the Steam Deck was great. Valve is great. Proton is really cool. GTA Online, not so good. Rockstar, kind of. Check out the link in the video and the description about that. But I wanted to say this. What's interesting about this is I feel like there's a lot to this, more so than just Valve being awesome. Like, yes, good job, Valve. We're glazing on you for sure. See how we're so Gen Z, and everything.
Man, Gen Z.
So Gen Z. So Valve is great, but what they're doing, and for those who don't know what these terms mean, let's break it down a little bit. I want to scroll up so I can find the exact terms of like how they said it.
Yeah.
Yes. The build service infrastructure and a secure signing enclave. That is very, very technical phrasing. So the build service infrastructure is basically an automated system to build packages for the distro. And the secure signing enclave is a way to automate the process of signing packages so that once the package is built, it is confirmed that it is the package that you're supposed to get. Because obviously there could be corruption, and I mean, not like political corruption, but like corruption in the sense of like some of the packets don't come through when you fully download it, so it's kind of broken and that sort of thing. And the signing, if it's still there, then it means that it's totally good to go and you can use it. And the
security thing as well, right?
It's also technically like, it's technically not meant to be a security, but it's like kind of like accidentally a security too. Yeah. So like it was meant to just be like consistent code. And then they're like, well, now you can also use this to prove that who you got it from and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also another element to it, because they already had signing of packages. They were doing it as open PGP, and each person had to sign it themselves manually. And that meant that you had to know if each person was actually part of Arch. So you'd have to know, like, I don't know how many people were in Arch, but last time I looked, which was admittedly like a year ago or two, I don't even remember exactly, but there was like 100 people, and you have to go and see, like, is this person still in Arch and all that sort of stuff. So that's a lot. This is a way to create like an Arch signing system, so you'll see it is from Arch, not just each individual person. And it also makes it where they don't have to do it manually. They can automate all of this and basically eliminate a ton of extra effort and open up the possibility to do other things that they've already wanted to do for years. And I'm very excited because one of the things they talked about was they could have support for ARM and RISC-V because of this.
Ooh,
yes.
That's huge.
They said that they're not guaranteeing it's happening, but they said it's definitely something they're looking at, because as soon as they can, if they can, Ryan has guaranteed it for you.
Steam on ARM.
Like that would be awesome. And I feel like there's probably, I think Valve is probably thinking, you could bring the ARM architecture.
Of course they are. Why wouldn't
and
you? Right.
RISC-V and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So like right now you can technically get ARM for Arch Linux, but it's a separate third-party unofficial project. They have the blessing.
Someone just deleted
Arch.
their YouTube comment. They're like, dang it, he mentioned it.
And also, well, the reason I wanted to mention is because I love their acronym as ALARM. It's Arch Linux ARM. Like, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. But anyway, Arch Linux themselves may in the future have ARM thanks to this. So I just wanted to bring that up because that is awesome.
That
Very
is
cool.
wonderful. And Michael, you talked about on This Week in Linux and on a separate video you did about Valve contributing to Wayland. In what ways are
That's
they
true.
contributing to Wayland?
That's a good point. It's so interesting because they have people who are like contractors working on it, but there are people who are like directly Valve engineers also doing stuff. And one of them wants to improve the speed of the development of Wayland. And I didn't know this. And it was kind of funny because as I was researching this, there was everybody talks about how, I mean, you've probably heard this phrase, when are we getting Wayland? Or why is it taking so long? And turns out there is merit behind those statements. There has been like stagnation for development of Wayland protocols for at least a couple years, as in like it's still being done. It's just being done much slower than it used to be. There were like 5-6 years of period where it was like super fast development, and all of a sudden it started slowing down.
It's because they outsourced it to sloths.
Could be, with enough sloths and enough typewriters, you could probably not get much of anything because it's a sloth.
I just thought of that DMV.
The Zootopia.
Zootopia. It's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
One of my favorite gifts to send.
I'm sorry, Wayland developers. I don't really feel that way. It just popped in my head.
It's not that bad at all. But like this, and also because sloth is the sloth in that movie is called like 100-yard dash flash or something.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, so what they're doing is trying to build out this new branch, which kind of shocks me that there wasn't already this branch. But they're wanting to add an experimental branch to be able to work on protocol changes and updates, and then move that to staging, and then when it's ready, go to stable. And apparently, there's only been staging and stable before, and it's kind of like how. Like, how have you been doing it this whole time?
They're improving the process. They're making the process more efficient.
Making it faster and giving you more. It's more of like giving more flexibility in the development stage, so you don't have to worry about like, nothing can ever have any breaking point. And when you're doing innovation and development, you're going to create bugs. You're going to have some kind of issue that you need to resolve in order to push something forward and make new code and all that sort of stuff. There's going to be something that happens. And they previously, like, this is just my understanding. I could be wrong.
Michael, we're about to do story time with you. And I need you to work on your conciseness of you.
I don't understand what that word means.
It was my fault because I asked the question, but we needed to know.
It's great.
That's true.
Let's summarize this because we're already 38-minute run and we haven't got the story time. I'm sorry, everyone. We're going to have to skip story time. But go on, Michael.
Not again. Okay, fine. I'll sum it up with Valve is helping with Arch Linux, but they're not just helping with Arch Linux. They're also, some of their engineers are also trying to help with Wayland. And this is very important because we need Wayland to ramp up as soon as possible because there's already kind of like deadlines for some of the distros to remove X. And it's only like a couple to a few years away for that to happen. So we need Wayland to get to that point. And there's still a lot of awesome stuff about Wayland. If you don't know, you might actually be using Wayland, and there's ways to test. But anyway, you can look up that online. But there's so many good things, but also it's missing quite a few still too.
Yeah. Well, after hearing this, the Wayland devs are definitely gonna speed up. They're like, click. Click.
Not like a sloth?
No. They're going to be like, click.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Oh, why did I bring on the wrath of the Wayland devs? I don't know.
Yep.
My fault.
I
My name's
played
Michael,
along with
by
that
the way.
joke, but just it was Ryan's fault that happened.
All right, Michael, now's your chance. It's story time with Michael. So if you're at home right now, don't do this if you're in the car. Grab a blanket, your favorite snack.
Yeah.
Get on the couch. Put your headphones on. Close your eyes.
It
and
is not that kind of story.
Oh, okay. My bad.
This is
100%.
ASMR.
It is
at its best.
also not that kind of story either.
Oh, man.
It's a story. It's a horror story that ends in niceness. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So, once upon a time, there's people who say all the time, you can't live without the internet. And I can tell you that is kind of true. I went a month without the internet, at least as a hookup on my house, like that kind of thing.
You didn't have an official connection in your home.
Yes. I was able to use smartphone hotspots to have a semblance of internet, but there is such a different experience. So it is kind of true, especially if you need it for work, which I do. And this was a very interesting experience because we did the show 2 weeks on a phone's internet, and it was It was fun. Let's say that.
Yeah. So it's very blurry, Michael. We had a very blurry Michael. The video you see, thankfully, it records it locally. So
yes,
you all see good.
You couldn't tell, but
we were interacting with like in the CIA or whatever, or somebody wants their face covered because they're telling a secret on TV and they blur their face out. That's how we saw Michael.
So we were doing a little talk over each other too.
I saw a moving mosaic painting. It was really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So I tried to get internet connected as early as possible, and I called them, and they said, "Well, it's going to be 7 to 10 days." Like, that's a lot longer than usual because every other time I've done it in my entire life, it's been like the next day or maybe 2. So like, okay, fine, 7, 10 days, whatever. And the install day comes, and unfortunately, they do not show up. It came and went
after 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
After the 10th day. Yeah. And I call them and see what's going on. And the rep on the phone says, "Are you from the Southeast?" I'm like, yeah. "Well, there's a strike happening for our technicians." Oh, okay. So then I find out that this strike happened the day I scheduled the thing, and no one bothered to say like, "Hey, they're not going to show up because there's no one to do it." I just had to wait 10 days and then reschedule another one for whatever. And thankfully they did come after that. But I'm not even going to talk about the whole strike thing. If you want to go check it out, look it up, feel free.
How many days later did it take after the 10 for you? Did you go?
We didn't get internet until like over a month.
So it took 30 days almost to get
31 or 32. Yeah.
Right.
So it was quite a lot.
Did you go to the picket line and throw stuff at the AT&T people for not?
I think they were just either picketing. I think they were just picketing at headquarters for AT&T, which are nowhere near here, or they were.
You didn't see any of the picketers then?
No, I didn't see any picketers. No.
Would you have gone and talked to one curiously? Because Michael's very
100%. I
would have just walked up to him and been like, "Hey, I need internet, bro. Like, can you?"
No. I'd been like an interview. I would have done an interview for the show or something. So I learned the hard way that life without the internet is hard. Well, if you're a geek, it's hard. For people who are not geeks and they don't really care, that's not a big deal. But
they're not listening anyways.
Yeah, that's true. What are they doing?
What are you worried we're going to lose the one wilderness survivalist out there that's listening to the show that hates computers?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to offend you.
I don't want to offend the person who's not listening whatsoever. So I use my phone's hotspot, and I hit the limit pretty quickly. Now I technically have unlimited, but unlimited is only so unlimited. Like after a certain amount of gigs, then they start limiting you, not in your total amount of data, but in the speed that you get. And they limit hard, very hard usually. And so I went into research mode. I was looking at all the different types of options. Okay, I can get a home cellular internet plan. I could get the Starlink, or I could get like a mobile hotspot device, and all these things. Every single one of these options were terrible for whatever reason. Usually it was because they were just so expensive. Like getting a hotspot device, in addition to the monthly plan, you also have to get a device that they don't just give you. Like you order home internet that give you a modem, and you just give it back to them when you're done. And with these, you have to buy the hotspot, and that's it. And those they go from like $100 to like $500. Like, I don't want it that much. So I didn't do any of those. I just used the mobile hotspot on my phone, but I needed some other thing. So I was thinking, well, okay, I'll just contact one of those, MVNOs, the one that have like super cheap options, and I'll get those. And I tried a couple, and it turns out most of these kinds of providers have a limit as well, but they are even more strict on it. So it's like typically 10 gigs and that's it. And then they drastically cut it slower, even worse than the main companies and stuff like that. So after digging and trying many different ones, by the way, earlier I was talking about the fact that I need to get an Android phone. This is why. And I found 2 providers that I think are great solutions for anyone who needs to do this. Now, I was only doing it temporarily, and you might be fine with it if you need to, but this was just my testing was like only for a month, and now I have my normal setup. But Visible by Verizon has some really cool options, and so does Boost Mobile. So the way that they both work are kind of perfect for what I needed to do. So the Boost Mobile thing is $35 a month, and you get 30 gigs of data for your hotspot. But you also only get 30 gigs of data, period, and it's shared between your regular usage and your hotspot, which is quite a lot, and for having a good amount of speed for a temporary purpose or on a monthly basis if you need an extra set connection. You go online. Yeah, like a day, you sure. But there's another one that costs $25, and that's Visible, and they give you unlimited data, 100% unlimited. I tested this. It is unlimited.
Nice.
It's also super capped at the speed. Like it's very slow, but it's good enough. So you can get 5 megabit per second down. I have no idea what the up is. They wouldn't say. I just couldn't find it, I guess. And it was 5 down, which is good enough for watching Netflix or YouTube and that sort of thing. But more than one thing at a time? No, not really. Or anything that needs a lot of speed? Not really. But it is a good option. And I think that I accidentally found this experience to find 2 options for anyone who needs to have a lot of hotspot data, because I think probably Visible is the best one if you can deal with the speed. And then Boost Mobile is the best one to have the most hotspot available to you without getting like a full-blown plan from somewhere. And I think that if I were to having to pick one for what I needed, well, that's going to be Visible, because they have a 15-day trial period where it is free. And that means I did not pay a single dime to do the solution that I needed to get back to having a real internet for a month.
Nice.
Do what?
Oh,
Because that sponsorship opportunity. Here's how you use their service for free.
Yeah. No. It's only free for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And
for the
they
unlimited.
And they are very, very clear about the free trial is ending. It will end, and you will have no option to start. And also the worst part is that if I didn't have another phone to sign up, I wouldn't have been able to sign up because I didn't have internet access to use the app in order to sign up.
Oh,
here's the thing.
That's a little bit of a problem.
There's a lot of cellular companies now offering home internet, and depending on where you are, is going to depend on the options that are best for you.
Yeah, where I specifically looked for that, and they also did not support.
Michael is located in New York, so just use that as a reference.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not in New York, Michael. Then why did you have a New York T-shirt on before the show? Oh, you think I didn't notice and wasn't going to bring it up? The I Love New York T-shirt? By the way,
Okay, first of all, why are you bringing up that I had a different shirt on before the show? What is
I
the
didn't
point
get to
of
bring
that?
it up because you walked away while you were on screen with an
You
I
could
Love
have
New York
waited till
t-shirt.
after the show to say something. Why do you got to put it in the show for no reason? So to answer your question, it was given to me free, and it's a
Is
decent
this a
shirt.
plant? This is going back to the plant. Everything I make fun of was given to you for free. Why can't you just say, you know what? I love New York, man. So I wear the t-shirt. This is
I have never been to New York. I have no idea how good it is. I have a theory about it, but I have never been to experience it. And it also doesn't even say I heart New York. It just says New York City on it. That's it.
But it had a heart in there. It had
no,
a
it
heart,
didn't.
so I'm pretty sure it did.
It said
it had
NYC.
a 3D.
That's all it said.
It had a 3D like embezzled heart.
No, that was this weird cartoon effect where I was so thrilled by this shirt that you could see a heartbeat like a cartoon.
Bedazzled. You bedazzled it on your own time. And then wore that
It
shirt.
did almost look like puffy letters or something outlined.
Yeah, puffy letter shirt.
The way it's designed, it is
tell.
like it's. I don't even know how to describe it. It is excessive.
Oh, we'll have a picture of it because you'll send one to Wendy, and she'll
100% will not be doing
amazing.
Yeah,
I love New York t-shirt that Michael's wearing. Anyways, the point is, Michael, this is an interesting story because you happened to move at a terrible time in which the company you needed to get internet from was on strike, and you were able to find a solution. If you think not so long ago, there would have been no solution. Like
without this kind of thing to set up that I had, there would have been nothing.
Yeah.
And like, some people can get the Wi-Fi connections that are like the what's it called? Not Whisper Internet, not that. It's like Wisp.
You're talking about the satellite?
Oh, Wisp.
Wisp, but like the ones that are like in field of view kind of thing.
Yeah,
I forgot what the Wisp thing means, but wireless internet service provider probably. But Wisp, those are only like certain rural areas, and I didn't move to a rural area. I moved to a place that has fiber, but just wouldn't let me have it.
Oh, New York's overflowing with fiber, so totally makes sense.
You know me and my love for New York.
By the way, Michael, your story where you ostracized our one listener who hates computers, Liver King just canceled their patronage of our show. So thanks a lot.
That's okay. Liver's disgusting.
Oh.
Well, thank you.
Raw or cooked, who cares?
Thank you for story time, Michael. We appreciate that. I really wish, though, if we could go back in time, you started the story with Once Upon a Time, because that would have made it a better
Wendy,
story.
Edit this and then leave in the part where he says, I wish you would have done it, so that they know that we went back and did it. Once upon a time.
All right, moving on to our mobile news, more mobile news. I guess yours is kind of mobile news too, Michael. So you get a double mobile news feature film here, feature podcast, double
decker podcast. Right there.
Yeah. We discussed the unfortunate drama going on with the Linux kernel between Rust and the C devs, and one of the, main lead Rust developers left the Linux kernel team because of drama that they didn't want to deal with, kind of going on there between the C developers and the Rust developers. And we did the whole, can't you just get along thing? And it's a prior episode. Go watch it. But I thought this was interesting. After we covered that, I saw an article talking about Google and how they don't have drama with their Rust and C development team and how it's working for them. So according to Google's internal metrics, since focusing on Rust with Android, which is the Linux kernel behind the scenes, they've decreased vulnerabilities for memory vulnerabilities from 223 a year down to just 50. And with their new approach to safe coding, they've adopted interoperability between Rust, C, and Kotlin.
C++.
C++.
And Kotlin. And Kotlin, yeah.
Yeah. In addition to focusing on memory safe languages like Rust, they also realized that most of these memory vulnerabilities that they were dealing with happened to be created. They kept kind of reoccurring because of new code. So they also are taking this new proactive approach. They're calling it their new safe code initiative, where they're utilizing a whole bunch of different processes and tools to essentially make sure that when they're releasing new code, they're not introducing the same vulnerabilities again. Now, this is very, very critical because what has become a very popular way of exploiting devices these days is to actually look backwards into history for old vulnerabilities, even if they were patched, most of them were, and see if they
A lot of
work
people do not update their bugs.
today. And so they don't. What happens is these companies fix it, and then throughout
that's true. They can
months,
fix it, and then the patch come out, and then it still comes back because of new things.
comes back because of the
that's
new
true.
stuff that's on top of it. And so this is what's happening. Look, you can look at some of these old code bugs and things and still be able to utilize those today, months, years later, because of this regression that happens at time to time. So I think it's really cool what Google's doing here. I think it's awesome that they have been able to create this interoperability. And I think Linux devs have some things to learn here about kind of creating a more welcoming environment for other languages, because Rust is really growing in popularity. And I say that I was looking at Stack Overflow's recent 2024 report, and Rust is in the top 12 or 13 of 51 languages. And we're talking all respondents, it's in the top. Professional developers, it's in the top 13, 14. And this one to me is the most important, and where it's the highest out of the list, it was in the top 12, I think, for this, was learning to code. So that means your new developers who are coming out want to use Rust. So I think that you can bring a whole, we've already talked about this, but just a whole new exciting generation into developing the Linux kernel, which we want Linux to go on forever and ever. I
think this is really interesting. Now, there are some takes that are also interesting. Linus gave a take, I don't remember exactly what he said, but about how it's okay that people are aging and stuff like that in the average age kind of thing. And that's true, but also you want to have more, it doesn't matter with the age, you want to have more coders, and Rust is the new hotness. It is the most hyped up programming language.
Rust is so hot right now.
It's so hot right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So hot.
So many apps on FlatHub are Rust-based, as we have tested before.
And the new Cosmic Desktop is completely Rust-based.
And that is
hot.
Exactly.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire. And there's so many things coming out. And Rust is also a cool language. It's not like it's a terrible language that people are just adopting. And it's good that they talked about having interoperability between Rust, C++, and Kotlin. But this also means
Kotlin,
that
I'll fix that for you.
Pretty sure it's Kotlin, but Ryan, doesn't it make you sad though? Because it means that the original language that Android was made with is no longer the new language, the new hotness. And aren't you just so sad about Java?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Java.
I know that Java overlay.
I feel like Kirk, when he screams Khan, but I'm screaming Java because I'm learning Java right now.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating at times. It's good. Some things it does is good. It's good when you get it to work. It's so miserable and it's so torturous, but when you get it to work, you feel the award of the torture ending, basically.
That's that you're just describing C and assembly.
Exactly.
You're it is, yes, Java was supposed to be a solution to all these more complicated languages, and it's slightly easier, but still a mess, a big old hot mess.
And I know some Java devs out there are going to be like, I love Java. I make my living off Java. Java's amazing. And
if you are a Java dev,
that's off to you.
And you are listening to this show, please let us know in the comments or on the forums. Let us know what you like about Java. If you are making a living off of it, professionally with Java, let us know how much you enjoy the money versus how much you hate Java. Let me know about that too.
That's a great idea. Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of the latest hotness, I hear Hades is pretty hot, Jill.
It sure is, Ryan. While not a new game, this
segue.
is a very popular game that has over 247,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. And yes, the game is called Hades.
That's all? That's it?
Yeah, that's
247,000.
Yeah. The game is called Hades, and it was released back in 2020. But Ryan, just just got a hold of it on a
So
Steam
good.
Deck.
Talking about, it's only been they've had 4 years and only got 247,000.
I know. I was really surprised too because it's a huge game. I mean, I've watched game streams of it and played a little bit myself with
Insane amount
friends.
of overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's funny because
Yeah,
most of the games
very
we
good.
do, it's like this one's got 3 overwhelmingly positive reviews.
People are
One's got
really
4.
loving
Yeah.
this 9 positive reviews video
Yeah.
game we're talking about.
Yeah. So Hades describes itself on Steam like this. Defy the god of the dead as you hack and slash out of the underworld in this roguelike dungeon crawler from the creators of Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. And I love Transistor. That I really enjoy that game. That's a different style of game, but it's wonderful.
I've never played Transistor or Pyre, never even heard of those. But Bastion, yeah, okay, this is
Bastion's
going to be a good
classic.
game. That makes sense why there's so many positive.
Yeah. And Hades is actually certified to work on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
And is a great game for the portable gaming system. It runs beautifully on it, and it's easy to pick up and put down if you have limited time to play.
Which is me.
Yeah, just like Ryan. And I thought this was a nice description. It's a picture a cross between Diablo, Gauntlet, and hordes of enemies, but with lots of upgrades and, of course, lots of loot.
Loot. You got to have the loot, man. You draw me in with the loot.
Yes. Yeah. And Hades actually has really beautiful graphics, fast-paced action, a great story, and a very thematic Greek mythological underworld, and is the best example of a godlike roguelike dungeon crawler. It's got a couple niche gaming terms in there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but they're awesome, and it works together so beautifully.
And the art style is very cool.
Yeah, it's very well done. It's on,
very anime
League of Legends
style.
Yeah. It's definitely and it's easy. The colors are vibrant, and it's actually for me with low vision, it's really easy to see the characters because
anime style Diablo is a cool concept. I like this.
Yeah. And Hades is actually well worth the price of $24.99 on Steam. That's pretty good for a game that's almost like AAA rated.
4 years later, still
4 years later. And it did so well that there is now a sequel, Hades 2, that came out in May of this year. So Ryan will have something to go to after he's done with Hades.
Yeah. I listen, with my schedule lately, I only have very limited time to play games, but I still want to play games. And Hades is a perfect example of a game that I can pick up. I can play in short bursts. It's very easy to learn the controls of. And so you don't have this huge learning curve, and upgrading your character as you go through the various dungeon crawls is very simply done. I'm not sitting there with a spreadsheet figuring out mathematical equations of what build to use. It's just like, hey, do you want this boost or this boost or this boost? And it's just very simple, and it's fun. And you feel like you're making progress with your character as you go. I've died a lot in this game. When I first started playing, I didn't die right away. And I thought, it's kind of going to be like Diablo, where I can play all the way through Diablo and not die at all. Sometimes there's certain modes and stuff for that. But in Hades,
like super easy mode? Is that what it is? That
with
what you
my
play on?
skill level in Hades, maybe the younger ones out there can play it without dying, but there is a mode, I think, for that. But I die frequently in the game, but it doesn't really punish you all that much when you're dying. You go back into the world and you got to see your father again. And, they'll make little comments about you being a failure. And then you go back out there and fight in your dungeons. And, it's a lot of fun. You can pick it up quick. I really enjoy it. And you get to learn a lot about Greek mythology because, they have all of these they have all of your standard ones, your Zeus, Athena, Poseidon, all that stuff. But there's a lot of gods and things I hadn't heard about before that are pretty neat as well. So check it out. It's very cool.
And it's a great single player game. I kept getting confused with this one playing with friends and another one I played made by the same developer, but it wasn't Hades.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
I always like it. I think it's cool when games or any kind of not like a medium takes the some kind of mythology and adds it to a game to kind of play with it. I always have fun with those. And also, it reminds me of the wonderful Egyptian mythology TV show that was very, very loved, and that is Stargate.
Stargate is awesome. It's classic.
Oh, Stargate.
Hey, Michael,
I'm just not
Stargate is like love. Like I love Stargate because it was very clever. It was written well, and it was super cheesy. It's so good.
The cheesy part, I agree with.
Do you know, when I was working for the company that runs most of the Star Trek conventions here in the United States, I also did Stargate conventions as well.
No, of course you did, Jill.
Who has the better fans?
Star Trek.
Yes. I didn't even think you would answer that.
Okay,
honestly,
Jill is biased here.
Yeah, but honestly, they're the same. It's the same group of people.
It's the same people. Yeah, it's the same people. Yeah,
they're just nerds who love sci-fi. I mean,
That's all nerds. You just that's like saying chai tea. Nerds that love sci-fi, just nerds or sci-fi, like same thing.
Yeah,
all right.
Same thing.
Oh, in fact, I ran one of the very first Stargate conventions. They even had it in conjunction with a Star Trek convention, and you pay for one, and you could get into both.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Hey, I like the idea of having a Stargate conference and a Star Trek conference in the same place. But then I want to battle the Stargate people. Like I want to have war with them. Like that.
Well, they just open a portal and leave, and you're stuck.
Yeah, that's fine.
But then you can use the transporter and go to the other side.
And then,
but the Stargate, when you walk through the Stargate, it doesn't kill you. It just moves you across the thing. Whereas transporters kill you and just
to kill you.
Reel
but it
you.
Might.
I mean, it's not supposed to, but the transporters literally just kill you and then recreate you again.
This is true. This is true.
I'm 100% positive if there was an all-out brawl between Star Trek fans and Stargate fans, the Star Trek fans would win. Like
based on what?
Hands down. The Star Trek fans are more athletic. They train regularly in fighting. And why are you laughing, Michael? You're such a naysayer.
That entire
such a Stargate fanboy. Yeah. These are facts.
What are you talking about? Basically, it'd be a fight against each other, or ourselves. We just like look in the mirror and start going,
punching.
Yeah. It's all the same.
Way more buff at Star Trek.
Speaking of Star Trek and being on the USS Enterprise in space, our software spotlight is about astronomy.
Nice.
Whoever
writes these shows, genius.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Jill just did that off of the cuff. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, but the fact the whole show flows so perfectly, it's like
yes, you
like
did a great job.
That was purely accidental because I brought up Stargate.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So the astronomy app we're going to talk about is called Siril. Siril. This app is an image processing tool for reducing noise and improving signal-to-noise ratio in your photos. The main use case for photos taken off this planet and faced towards the stars, whether it be the moon or Mars or Jupiter or a beautiful asteroid that might be hitting Earth.
Jeez, Jill, that went dark.
Boy, it wouldn't be beautiful then, would it?
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Happened. It's a beautiful vision, and then all of a sudden I'm dying. Like what?
And then the entire destruction of the planet.
Simpler, like the Leonids that we can look up and see every year, which are beautiful. Right. So Siril supports multiple image formats and even movies and SCR files. It can also automatically align, stack, and enhance your images. And Siril is available as a handy flat pack or app image. And it's really a nice piece of software. So if you need, a piece of software to clean up those images that you're shooting through your telescope, this would work great. And I was trying to think of there's different types of telescopes, and my husband could give you a whole class on that, but because we have several telescopes here in the house.
We're going to have Steve come on the show and give us a whole class on telescopes. How amazing would that be?
He would love that. Love that.
Listen, write into the show and let us know if you want to hear a segment from Jill's husband. We'll have it recorded and we'll play it in a future episode. But you have to let us know you want it. You have to let us know you want it.
You have to let us know you want it. Serial-lessly.
Serial-lessly.
That was good, Michael.
All right. So Michael gave you a tip of the week for how he went over internet. So we don't have time for the tip of the week. We gotta end the show. We're over.
We're over again by a lot.
You can't stop. You have to wait till next week. You don't get a story with Michael, but you'll get another tip of the week. The tip of the week was supposed to be this week. Anyways, a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening, however you do it. We love your faces. Join us on Discord. Go to tuxdigital.com/Discord and go hang out with every member of the show that loves this show too. And you can talk about Star Trek. You can talk about Stargate too. Or you can ask Michael about his plants and how to take care of your plants.
You can't even see the plants in the background now.
I know. Sad.
Inficicus? It's called Inficicus.
Exactly. But if you want to do that, you can go to tuxdigital.com/Discord and you can join us and talk about whatever you want. But you can also go to tuxdigital.com/membership, become a patron, and you'll get patron access to a special Discord channel that only patrons can access. And you'll be able to talk to all of us and everyone else in the server, and as well as getting extra access because we get notified about the patron only section anytime you say something versus the other ones occasionally. It's you can pay us to show that you appreciate the content, and we will show you we appreciate you paying us.
Pay us and then help support Jill.
There you go. And also to save her penguins, because as you know, that if you don't become a patron, we actually haven't got a new patron in the past 2 weeks. And without getting a new patron, we're gonna take one of those penguins in the back, and we're going to sacrifice it. Okay, maybe that's a little too harsh. We're gonna move it out of the room.
Yeah, imagine Jill being in that room with no penguins. You've done that. You've done that.
Don't let that happen.
You're a bad person if you let that happen. A bad person.
For everybody who's already a patron, thank you very much. You've saved them for now, but in the future, we'll see what happens. So go to tuxdigital.com/membership.
Wow.
Or you can go to tuxdigital.com/store and get some sick merch. We got t-shirts and hats and mugs and hoodies and all sorts of stuff. We got more coming. Not Ryan's Batman figure that's not there. I don't know why he does this every single time. tuxdigital.com/store.
And make sure to check out all the amazing shows here on Tux Digital. That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness. Head to tuxdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching. Also, make sure to check out Michael's This Week in Linux for your source for Linux news. Twill is now live on YouTube Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
No, I'm busy.
Right?
I'm really busy.
For the past 2 weeks, I have been live, and it has been an interesting experience.
Going live.
So feel free to join.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I like so it's always Fridays, except for last week. It was Friday and Saturday because Friday I lost all of the content. Everything was destroyed.
Isn't that
even my 4 backup local copies all gone? But I fixed it. So join me next week or this week. Yeah, this week.
This week.
Everybody have a wonderful week, and remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Oh, that's the penguin we're going to sacrifice.
That's the one
there.
Look
at the cute little eyes. Looks delicious.
This is a Genshin, a plushie version of a Genshin Impact penguin, one of my favorite games, Genshin Impact, and it's mechanical. It's a robot.
Oh,
it's really cool.
Apparently delicious too.
You ever had penguin soup? Delicious. See you, everyone.